Hello, Fenton here, with some more Factorio Over-Explained. Last time we got some boilers set up, some very basic electric power, and now this episode I think we should probably try and use that power to move away from burner miners. And we'll make these, see what these fancy electric mining drills are all about. So, let's do that. Let's make some by hand while I'm chatting away. 10 should be enough. I right-clicked that to make 5 at a time, as we know. Off camera, I just quickly got rid of the wrecked ship. It was going to be in the way, because what I want to do is I want to think about moving the electricity up here and starting to use electricity to automate some of the iron plate making. We got 44 small electric poles. And what we should do is actually start looking at this toolbar down here. So, down here we've got 3 rows, 1, 2 and 3, with 10 spaces each. You can use those as hotkeys, or you can use this just as quick access. So if you press E to open up your character menu, you can pick up this in the same way that you would then build things. But you can place that item here in your toolbar. So the small electric poles have gone down here. So then now it's showing us we've got 44 in our inventory, and we can just use this to take the power poles. So let's do that for the power poles and the electric mining drills, because that's what we're about to use. You can also use the number keys then to take from the slots 1, 2, 3, etc. all the way across, and you can press X to switch between which one of your 3 hotbars is active for the keys. So if I'm pressing 2 here, my electric mining drills are coming up. Let's take the electricity all the way up to the top, shall we? Now the game is very clever with this. You don't have to worry about putting your electric power poles optimally like this. This would take a long time and it would be very boring. If you place the first one, optimally at least, and then hold the left mouse button down, the game then knows when your cursor moves as far as possible to make the connection, it will then start placing the next one. So the easiest thing to do is to really just walk in a straight line, walk in the cardinal direction with your WASD, and the game will then very handily, optimally place the power poles for you. Are we going to have enough to get up to iron? Should do. Obviously you could go diagonally, but if long-term Factorio player, you will gravitate towards making sure things go in the grid. Right, let's put some power poles down here, shall we? Get rid of these burner mining drills. Your days are numbered, buddy. I didn't need to do that because I've got my electric mining drills down here. Mining speed 0.5 a second, so that is obviously a marked difference from the burner mining drills that's with 0.25 a second. Let's get one, shall we? We can also now press Q on the ore, and it knows that we've got better drills. It just picks the best one that we've got. And see what's going on here. The blue, much like the electricity, the blue, slightly green I suppose, square around it is what it's going to affect. The burner mining drills, you don't see that because it's just affecting the squares underneath it, whereas the electric mining drill has a mining area of 5x5 instead. And we can see that here, and the yellow arrow obviously is our alt mode, telling us where the output is going to go. Our expected resources, much like the burner mining drill, is showing us everything in that 5x5 underneath, 34,000 iron in this particular example. As we move it closer to the edges are less densely populated with resources. But let's just bung it here, seeing as you can get 2 quite nicely in between power poles. We don't obviously have a fuel slot, we just have the regular bar, and we have slots for modules, and modules are more of a mid-late game thing, so don't worry about this at all for now. And we can put our furnaces connecting to the, let's make this a bit neater, shall we, connecting to the outputs as before. We do have to then obviously put the coal in, And these will just go forever. Now, we don't have to worry about coming back to fill up these with coal, but we do have to worry about filling these with coal. We'll get to that. And let's just remind ourselves about the electricity use. We've got 4 electric mining drills. Max consumption 90 kilowatts each, but that's well within our production capabilities of our boilers as they stand. Cool. That helps a bit, doesn't it? A little bit. Let's do the same for copper, shall we, while we're here? We can just do this properly. I'll put you right on the edge. Oh no, it's got no electricity. That's fine. Do it for 2. Same as I did before. Work out where the best place to put the power pole is, and then the next one will be a bit messy, but it's fine. It's working. Got all this... Oh, that's copper... Coal! That's what I wanted. There we go. I've got all this copper ore and iron ore in my inventory from the ones I destroyed, so I'm just going to go and dump these back in by putting them on my cursor, holding control and left clicking in the same way that with an empty cursor left clicking would take the iron plates out. Control with something on your cursor will attempt to bung as much of that in as it can. These have a very handy light on them, as you can see. They are green when they are working, they are yellow when they are able to, when they could be working but are unable to. So for example, if this destination was full of iron ore, this would go yellow because it has resources but it can't do anything with them, and then it goes red when it's totally out. So if I, oh that's very handy, this one only has an expected resource gain of 4 here just because of this very tiny spot here. If I just do that to show you, put it in a box, 2, 1, and then that's going to go red because now it's like it's got absolutely nothing to do now. It can't do anything at all. It's just spent. So we can pick it back up. Okay. How do we then also automate putting coal in our boilers? Because what we'd really like to do is start getting some of this done properly. The coal is here, but the boilers are here. And I ain't walking backwards and forwards the whole time, even though at the moment I do actually have quite a lot of coal. That does mean we're going to have to talk about belts. Although I could put... I just clicked and dragged there, of course. I could put a box in front of each one of these, pick up all of the stuff from the box. Ugh, that's going to take a very long time. No. Let's talk about belts. Let me just hook these up. And we'll put belts on our toolbar as well. Your basic yellow transport belt is going to be your best friend for a very, very long time. They move items about. If I just show you by pressing Z to drop an item onto the ground, the belt will move the item. Like so. It's clever enough to know when to make bends, providing the providing the belts are pointed at each other in the right direction. They do not need electricity. Thank the good sweet Lord Jesus Christ for that. The player is affected by them as well, at least in the early game until you fix that. And the yellow transport belt has a belt speed of 15 items per second. That means a fully saturated belt. Let's try and get a section here that's fully saturated. If you were to stand here and count how many items moved past the player, the most it's ever going to be is 15 a second. Okay. The other important thing to realise about belts, if I just continue to make one in a straight line, is that you will see they are actually, control 1, actually split in half. They are 2 separate lanes. So this lane here, whoops, again, can draw a straight line, mate. Ugh, that's weird. This lane here is distinct from this lane here. And that becomes important when we talk about arms later, which I'm not going to talk about in much detail today. So much the same way your yellow arrow can output into a box, or into a furnace, or into anything that can accept it as an input, the coal will automatically just be output on top of the belt. When you're drawing a belt, there's an option to lock your cursor into the horizontal or vertical row of grid squares that you started in, so that you can build a straight line nice and easily. You can turn that off if you wish. I like it personally. Let's move our coal all the way to our grids, to our boiler section. Excuse me, small cough there. There's a lot you can do with belts, and we'll talk about them more and more as these specific instances come up. Because as I say, at the moment all we're really interested in doing is moving the coal to the boilers, and it is as simple as just connecting an output of miners to a belt. Here we go. I like obviously start from here so that you're in the right place. We're going to leave a row of space here. Turn my grid on. I'm going to leave an empty row here because this is going to be where the automation of moving the coal into the boiler comes into place. I'm out of transport belts. Oh no, thankfully they're very easy to make and they're very cheap. And again, this is a good example of what I talked about in the previous episode, where if you wanted to make 100 at once, you would have to sit here and wait for all 100 iron gear wheels to finish. At least by right clicking and making 5 at a time, we can actually start work while the handcrafting process continues. And you can see the number there on my cursor. 25 currently is going up and down as I place more and more, and as my handcrafting continues it goes up as well. There we go, that's enough. Right, I'll turn the grid square off now. You can press pause on your keyboard to bring the grid up straight away, but it pauses the game, unsurprisingly. Our electric mining drills have a mining speed of 0.5 seconds. I can't remember if I said that already. I actually started recording the episode and then gave up because I confused myself and therefore you, and it wasn't going to be good, so I started again. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it though. These have a mining speed of 0.5 a second. So with 4, that's obviously only 2 a second. 2 a second is not going to fill up even a smidge of this belt, as you can see here. So as our coal makes its way down, it's going to hit the edge of the belt. Thankfully they don't fall off the end. That would be a real nightmare, can you imagine that? Having to have like a belt stopper or something. That would be unnecessary, and it's just going to back up. We need to move the coal into the boilers. And we can do that with a very special item called an inserter. I highly recommend you use burner inserters for this one particular job. And that's what we'll do. I'm going to make 4, because I've got 4 boilers. An inserter with alt mode on here. There is a completely different setting for... Whoops, not that one. Graphics. No? Interface. Show inserter arrows in alt mode. And I will turn that on for a bit, but it can get a bit cluttered, but I will leave it on. This is an inserter. It works only ever in 180 degrees, so it will pick up an item from... let me turn alt mode on before I go back into that. It will pick up an item from this side, this grid square, where you've pointed it, and it will deposit it 2 grid squares away in 180 degree motion. All this way. It really doesn't matter. It will just do it. The arms can't clash, so you could put another one there, like that, and they could both rotate this way. That is never going to be a problem. The game doesn't care about that. And the burner inserters don't need electricity. They're still part of the burner phase in the same way the burner mining drills and the stone furnaces are. They are also clever enough to fuel themselves. They can pick up coal and put it in themselves before they do anything else. So we're going to use these to automate placing the coal in the boilers. So you'll see here, let me take all of the coal out of this one. It knows what to do. It is smart enough to know what to do. It placed a few pieces of coal in itself first, and then now it is, as needed, moving the coal to the boilers. There is a built-in limit for items that it moves, which I've never fully understood. I don't know if it's 10% of the stack or if it's always 5 or what. It won't just go forever. It will leave this at a number. And that's mostly to make sure that it's fair in terms of moving everything down the line. If it just went forever, it would take a very long time for items to permeate down the belt. Like 2 burner inserters here might just take everything, and these 2 would be starved, even though there's more than enough to share between all 4. So let me pick up another one. I'm pressing Q, obviously, as we discussed before, to take an item that exists. So we'll put another one down and watch it work again. This is full of coal. Fuels itself a bit first, and then goes. The reason you want to use burner inserters for this is mildly complicated. It's because if you used electric inserters, which work 100% the exact same way, except they also need to be within the catchment area of an electric pole, and your electricity ran out, you'd have to come and manually jumpstart it. If you had no electricity because these stopped working because you ran out of coal, for example, and then coal started coming back down the belt, you've got no electricity to power the inserter to put the coal in the boiler to get the electricity that you need to power the inserter and so on. A burner inserter will work slowly enough that it's very unlikely it will run out of fuel at the exact moment you also run out of other resources, or the resource on the belt. So we've got electricity automated now. Let's try and work out exactly how many boilers we could... No, that's a futile endeavour. Let's not worry about that. We probably could do the math, but it would involve working out 4 megajoules of fuel value into max consumption 1.8 megawatts, and it also would involve, if your electricity network isn't running at full tilt, it would also be different numbers anyway. So really, if you need more coal, put more burner miner drills, put more mining drills on the... And let's quickly discuss that actually. Let me make a few and we'll talk about some of the basics of the belts, seeing as this seems to be a belt episode now, and not an inserter episode. The reason that it's important that the belts are in lanes is for situations a bit like this, and belt priority and stuff like that. I should have made 1 mining drill at a time instead of 5 at a time, because it's now making all of the circuits and things anyway. Almost there now, almost there. So how have you been? So if we put more burner mining drills here, where there's electricity, and take some more belts like this, and try and do this, it won't work. In this scenario, it won't work, because this belt here has priority, and this belt is full. If we were to take some of this out, it would be fine. But it's dropping onto the top, and if there isn't room to drop it onto the top, then it gets stalled. And so then obviously this becomes a problem, because you're only using you're still only using 1/2 of the belt here. Even though your belt capacity is 15 items a second, you are still limited to only 7.5 items a second, because you're only utilising 1/2 of the belt. Yeah? Can you see what I'm talking about? Let me over-explain this, I suppose. This lane here is being filled by these. Is blue the best colour for this? Probably not. And then this... Oh my god, I pressed the W key, which is the whiteboard. So sorry about that. I tried to move my character in the game. Let's try that again. I can zoom in and out while I draw as well, I just realised. Don't press W, okay? So sorry. This lane and this lane of the belt are being filled by the same... on the same half, right? These 3 are filling the belt on this side. These 4 are filling the belt on this side. And there's various ways to fix this, to make sure it isn't a problem. The quickest way, and the easiest way, would just be to make sure that your belts are being filled from both sides at the same time. Which would involve removing absolutely everything we've done here so far. But it is best practice, so we should do it. Because a yellow belt is quite slow. I mean, it's fine for now, but it is quite slow, so we should be utilising it as much as possible. It would be to fill the belts from both sides. Whoa, okay. The drawing in a straight line doesn't work for anything that's not a belt. So if we do this, for example, take our belt here, connect it up. We also now need electricity. Whoops. The clicking and dragging with the electricity poles is also smart enough to know where to put them down so that everything gets electricity. Even if the maximum distance would actually cause something in this 2x2 square to not be powered by electricity, it will put the poles down in such a way that everything is covered by electricity. So here we go, here's a good example. 5 on one side, 5 on the other. Providing these resources all last the same amount of time, the belt will be filled evenly. This is the easiest way, basically, to make sure this gets done, for now. There are many, many, many ways to sort it, including entire blueprint libraries for belt balancers, lane balancers, etc., etc. We've been down here. There's many more things I can talk about with inserters, but as I say, this is going to be a primarily belt-focused episode, so that's good. Right, we've got electricity sorted. Now we've got electricity sorted, we can start thinking about building actual assembly machines to do a lot more of our building for us. And alt mode has been off this whole time. Good lord, how have we even coped? How have we managed with this? So these lights are yellow, so they could be working, but they're not, and that's just because these are all full of iron. So give me that sweet, sweet iron. What should we automate, folks? That's a good question. Let's automate red science, shall we? That's the easiest thing to deal with at the moment. Red science needs a copper plate and an iron gear wheel, so we need something to make iron gear wheels. We need something to make iron gear wheels, so that's one assembly machine, and then we need something to make the red science pack afterwards. That's another assembly machine. This is going to be the basic automation. The basic automation tutorial. This is an assembly machine. This is arguably more of your friend than belts. Everything's your friend in Factorio, but belts and assembly machines are your two best friends. You know? You could they have to be powered by electricity, of course. This should be obvious, I suppose. They have to be powered by electricity, so let's plop one here, just because, yeah, that makes the most sense. And have a quick look at what we've got over here. It's got no recipe, and has a crafting speed of 0.5. That means that when you're looking at various items like this, so a transport belt takes 0.5 seconds craft time, you have to also factor in the craft time with the crafting speed of the building. So a tier 1 assembly machine, whoops, has a crafting speed of 0.5, so you have to times that craft speed by 2. Or double the craft speed, basically. So they're slower than handcrafting, but obviously they're fully automated. So there we go. So right, we wanted, if we remind ourselves here, 1 copper plate and a 1 iron gear wheel. So how do we make iron gear wheels then? Right, so we click the assembly machine, and it gives you the same list that you get for handcrafting. You pick what you want, and then that assembly machine is now dedicated to doing this job. And that showed you here with this icon, which is also part of alt mode, which is another reason why alt mode needs to be on all the time. I'm going to hammer that home basically every single episode. Iron gear wheels needs iron plates, but it hasn't got any iron plates. So let's put some iron plates in, shall we? Cool, and that starts going. And as you can see here, that is 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Because of the 0.5 crafting time times the 0.5 crafting speed divided by the 0.5 crafting speed of the assembly machine. And this will go until the stack size of 100. So we need another assembly machine. We want this one to make the science packs themselves. So this needs the iron gear wheels and the copper plates. We can put the copper plates in, that's not a problem. But now we need to think about moving the iron gear wheels over. And for that we will use another inserter. And we'll use an electric inserter this time because there's not copper here, there's not coal here naturally. And I've actually put this in a stupid place because this inserter is going to have no power. So let me just move all of this one tile down, which is the Factorio mantra. Everything needs to be moved one tile down and do all that again. Iron gear wheels, automation science packs. Excuse me. Iron goes in there, copper goes in there. So the yellow inserter runs off electricity. It's also slightly faster. It has a rotation speed, as you can see here, of 302 degrees a second, compared with the burner inserter's rotation speed of, did I keep any? No, I only made exactly 4, of 216 degrees per second. And that becomes important as and when your belt speed increases and your crafting speeds are different and you need to move items quickly into various machines. I don't know why I put them both down like that, but there we go. So this yellow inserter works exactly the same as the burner inserter, except it is powered by electricity. And again, it is smart enough to know what is going on. So it's taking the iron gear wheels out of the output slot here, placing them into here. Again, it's not overfilling. It's just moving a sensible amount. Seems to be enough for 2 extra crafts. And then our automation science packs are being done as well. So then now all we need to do is another small chain here. Just adding another inserter onto the other side and moving our automation science packs into the lab. We haven't set anything to research. Let's research some logistics for next time. Some underground belts and some splitters, which will make belts a lot more interesting and a lot more versatile. Helps if you actually double click it to say that that's what you want to do. It needs 20 science packs that are going to take 15 seconds each. So that is 5 minutes, 300 seconds, 5 minutes. And you can see the progress up here if you wish. It's going to be really boring filling this with iron and filling this with copper to make sure that everything keeps up to date. So what can we do about that? Why don't we fill 2 chests and make sure they're on the actual side with electricity? And do that, shall we? So we're going to need another 2 inserters. We need to put... That was an explosion of some kind, if you can believe it. I don't know if you heard that. I think it was probably just fireworks. It's Saturday night here. Won't be when you watch this, because this one's going in the backlog. This needs copper added manually. So we'll put the copper that we've stocked up in this chest. What I did there, actually, I'll quickly explain that now that we're talking about putting stuff in chests. You can obviously left click, left click, that takes too long. If you control click an item on either side of your inventory, it will move it all out or in. So if I wanted to move all of the copper over, I just hold control, click any of the stacks of copper I've got, moves it all over. Shift does the whole stack. Shift left click, I should say, does the whole stack. Shift right click does half the stack. Yeah, that's right. Control right click. Control right click is also half as well. No, control right click is half of everything. That's right, yes. So control is everything, shift is the slot in particular, left click is all of it, right click is half of it. So this is control left, move it all, control right is half. We want all of it, we're not really doing anything. Whereas this iron, we're going to need iron for other things, so let's move a few stacks over. So shift left click a few stacks of iron, and we'll put some inserters down to start doing the job. Now they're not doing anything obviously because this has more than enough copper in it, and this doesn't need any iron, so it's even smart enough to know that. The output is full, so don't even bother putting iron in, because even if you put iron in, this is going to be full of stuff. If we were to take these out, then it would start working. We'll just move these iron gear wheels over to here, which is then going to make this stop working again, because there's no need for this. And you can see everything over here in the inserter, waiting for space and destination. That applies for this, waiting for space, working. Now it's waiting for source items, which means that this doesn't have... Oh, it does have stuff to move. Why does that say waiting for source items when it could be moving science packs? Because this doesn't say waiting for space in destination. I wonder if that's a bug. I may have found a bug. Who knows? So we've got some basic automation for science done. Obviously it's not fully automated because we need to think about actually moving the copper and the iron over to these locations manually. But it's something. We should also have a quick look at how that's affected our electricity. Not much, and that is because now that the miners aren't doing anything, because this is actually full. So our electricity needs are actually very low at the moment. It's just, if we change the graph to the last 10 minutes, the blue line is the electric mining drills. As the belt filled up and they were unable to do any work, the amount of electricity they required was going down. The assembly machines will be on and off as and when they have to make things. Obviously the iron gear wheel one doesn't need to work as often currently because of crafting speeds, which I will go into properly another time, but we can see here that the crafting speed of this, as I say, it's one iron gear wheel a second, whereas this only needs one iron gear wheel in 5 seconds. And in fact it's even longer than that, because of the speed of the assembly machine is only 0.5, so this actually takes 10 seconds to make a single automation science pack. So this is way, way, way faster than this. But we'll use that for something else later. So that was basic belts and automation. Basic, very basic. Oh, there we go, and our logistics research just finished, so how's about that for timing? That was extreme basic belts and automation and inserters. There's so much more to talk about it with this, but as I've said before, if I did a whole episode that was just here's absolutely everything you could do with belts, it would be so overwhelming, and most of it would be irrelevant for this stage in the game. That would be a waste of time. We just want to start thinking about getting some stuff set up, and we'll do the same in the next episode. We'll do the same with this for things that we're going to need a lot of moving forwards, like belts, inserters. Inserters will need green circuits. Green circuits need copper cables, so we need a longer chain. We need copper into cables, iron and cables into plates. Iron plates and copper cables into circuits, and then circuits, plates, and gear wheels into inserters. And that's where the fun begins. If you're into Star Wars prequel memes, like I'm not, that's where the fun begins. Thank you so much for watching. I forgot to mention about liking and subscribing at the start of the video, but if you're still here, then feel free to like and subscribe, and obviously any comments about what we've gone through I will answer in the next video. I'm happy to do that. Hopefully try and keep it relevant to anything we've covered so far. I don't want to hear talk about, oh, how do you feel about lane balances, because I haven't had any need to talk about lane balances yet. Even though I kind of did talk about lane balances with this. Anyway, that's a bit much for this stage. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.